Are we connected? All right. So I am very glad, be here again to do this with us. And I want us to listen carefully. I want us to ask questions for the purpose of clarification, and a mutual understanding. So this is the third class of the ongoing series, and for the past 2 days we've really been fellowshipping together, and I believe that a profound shift is already taking place in our perception, and because for us to function out of an elevated phase of experience, we must first begin to deconstruct our mode of perception. And so that has everything to do more, with you and I, okay, constantly reflecting on the foundations of our perception, constantly reflecting upon the nature of how we perceive reality, the agencies, informing the way we experience life, the way we perceive life. Okay. So ultimately what I'm trying to say is that self-reflection is something that is so important as far as our personal journey is concerned. And by the time you have such attitude towards yourself, then it becomes easier for you to transit, for you to not be trapped within the boundaries of your own thoughts. Because the only way that one can transcend a given mode of thought to be aware of that thought. And the moment you are self-aware, then you can actually discern ideologies, modes of perceiving that is not really serving you. Okay, that is not really serving you. Much of what you do with yourself is to deconstruct your mode of perceptions. And that really happens through an honest reflection upon yourself, which for many people, that's not uh, that's not the case. Often we see through our belief system and we judge by our belief system. That is a dishonest kind of judge. So if your belief system judge every other form of beliefs and ideas, the question is, who then judges your what? Yes, what then judges your own belief system? And so it is self-delusion for us to be caught up in our mode of thought without being aware of the boundaries of the thought. In other words, in self-reflection, you become the witnessy awareness. That is, you become the space of awareness. The space is awareness itself. So you are just aware of what fits in and out of the space, right? You are just aware of what is going on, of the movement. It's like you are the observing witness to the movement of thought, and not the thought becoming the foundation of how you basically see. Okay, that's an issue. All right, that's an issue. And once you are able to transcend that that challenge, okay, when you have no thoughts to protect, right? Or when you are able to transcend the challenge of always being possessed by your thoughts, once you're able to go beyond that, that is what we describe as an authentic freedom, right? That's what authentic freedom is. It's not just to be free from an institution. It's not to be free from any established form of authority. It is also to be free from yourself, right? Or to be free from the illusion of self. I remember what we've once said, that illusion is not a bad word, right? Okay, it's not a bad word. It's actually the same with the word Maya, right? Maya simply means an illusion, okay? From Eastern religion, all right? We have the word Maya representing illusion, and it's basically relating to all appearances of life. And so that is not to say that all appearances of life is false. You are a form of appearance. I am a form of appearance. Every other, expressions of life are forms of life, are appearances. All right. In other words, we look at this, complex web of appearances, of diverse manifestations of life, and then we call it illusion in the sense that these are not separate. Do you get what I'm saying? These forms are not separate. All right. They are a manifestation of a unity principle, of an essential principle. Okay. They are manifestation of the one, of the substance. All right. That underlies uh, the complete ground of being. Okay. And so this is the word Maya is an illusion. And so also is every idea of self. You see, every idea of self, it's actually an illusion. It's constantly changing. And there is no fixed you. There's no what? Very important you understand that. There's no fixed you. There's no fixed you. Okay? There's no fixed you. And so what you call you, it's actually a creation of an ideology. It's created by an idea. And that doesn't make it a lie. All right? It's how we actually function. Okay? It's how we function. We need an idea of self in order to function within the empirical space of life. And that's why you're given a name. I am given a name, and my name is not your name. So my name is an illusion. Your name is an illusion. But then uh, uh, it's part of how we are living. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. So illusion does not mean something bad. Okay? At best, it's simply, it's simply letting you go about these things in an unattached manner of experience. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. You're not attached to it. Okay? The projection is not mistaken for the actual experience or for the actual state of being, even though that the way you function within the space is in the approximate form. So it's an idea that has become a mental form of self. So that's how you function. That's why, one of the profound truths you find in the Christian literature is that as a man thinks in his heart, so is what? So he is. All right. When it has to do with within, when it has to do with the our manner of interaction, all right, within the explicate, space of living, it is not really about who you are, okay? Essentially, it is actually what you think of who you are. Do you get what I'm saying? And so it's not I am, therefore I think. It is I think, therefore I am. That is the order of operation, all right, within the explicate order. Okay? It is how we function. It's how we function. It's like talking about language. Language is an illusion, right? It's an illusion, but it's how we communicate. And if you say, for example, I'm experiencing pain, okay? Pain is just a word, right? A word. But by the time you say pain, every person um, in other places can relate with what you're saying. Actually, words, which is linguistic, and actual experience overlap each other. In other words, they both influence each other. So nothing is a word and action, or a word and experience, they are not mutually exclusive, right? An idea and the experience that the idea seek to convey are not mutually exclusive. Each can become the foundation for the manifestation of the other. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. That is to say, when you experience pain, the word pain was what was used to describe that form of experience. You get what I'm saying? If you were to cancel out the word, the experience is still there, right? Yeah. You can call it an inconvenient experience, something that is not, uh, that hurt you. So you have to use the word pain to describe that. But we know that this are the way or the manner by which we function within this space of appearance or the explicit order. Um, Put it that way. All right. And so what I'm trying to say here is that there is no fixed you. And that's why self-deconstruction is very important and it's a necessity. It is something that, as far as one we continue to evolve, there are people who don't, uh, who are not capacitated enough, let's say intellectually, to continue on the path of transition. All right. Because for every transition, there is always a price, a sacrifice that one has to pay. And not everyone has that, luxury to, to give up things in their life. All right. Even when you say you are nothing in a sense, it is still an idea of self by which you're operating, right? Yeah. It's an idea. And so, in a sense, idea is the ground of human experience. It's the ground of the human experience. So when we talk about the creation or the embodiment of actual experiences, then we talk about the nature of ideas. So for every form of ascension that we undergo, there is always a corresponding destruction of self-perception. And that's a must, something that really, happens. It's a necessity, right? Okay. And so, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. There is no fixed you. And so you constantly are creating a form of self. It's how you're operating. Okay? And so you constantly deconstruct. And this is so important for what we are considering energy coherence and healing. All right. Because the foundation upon which you have an unfolding of possible experiences is not a foundation of a fixed meaning. Of what? Of a fixed meaning. There is no fixed meaning. There is no fixed meaning. Every fixed meaning that you have is an habit. And to use that as the yardstick to describe the nature of how reality works, of how reality is self-delusion. You are in a great, you know, that's a colossal deception. Very tragic. And so the foundation is fluid. The foundation is something that is constantly changing. All right? Because deconstruction is a constant mode of experience. So the issue with us is when we talk about deconstruction, we are basically talking about what others believe, right? What others believe, being free from established institutional authority, but we don't really look inward by the time we talk about deconstruction. And if you are a person that is more bent towards debunking the foundations of your thoughts, and not so much caring as to what you are validating or confirming or invalidating. You are just concerned with facts. See, there are people who have set themselves against religion, right? And so whatever religion says, they always want to find themselves in opposite direction of that thought. But then for a person to keep on with that, that person will have to compromise his place of honesty. You get what I'm saying? And when we talk about, you know, when we talk about digging or exploring the foundations of the, when we talk about, yes, exploring the boundless infinite space of the divine, of pure potential, one of the foundation that we cannot compromise is the foundation of honesty, right? Yes, is the foundation of honesty. But as long as you set yourself against proving a person wrong or proving an institution wrong, it will take the sacrifice of compromising that honest foundation for you to keep doing that. Do you get what I'm saying? For you to keep doing that. So there are people who have gotten stuck with an idea of self simply because it doesn't make them fit into what? Fit into what is called the norm. Do you understand what I'm saying? But if that itself is a fixed meaning of self, it's already a norm, right? The norm. But the very character of the field of consciousness demands that we are constantly on this journey of deconstructing our habits, of deconstructing our fixed meaning of reality. It must keep changing. Because when we talk about energy, we're talking about the ground of infinite possibilities. Because what you call life, right? What you call life is pure potential. Is what? Is pure potential. All right? And this pure potential is holistic. Holistic is complete. Right? It's holistic, it's complete, it's infinite. And so, what do you mean by my life? What do you mean by this life? What do you mean by this is how I am? You understand what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? What do you mean by that? Who are you? And like I said, who you are is an ideology. And it's not wrong to have an ideology of self. So it's how you operate, it's how you function. If you are nothing, it's an ideology. If you are something, it's an ideology. It's an idea because idea is the ground of the human experience. And so language and actual experience is overlapping each other. They're not mutually exclusive. Both are impacting on each other. Language is very important. And so also are your experiences. But by the time we talk about the wisdom, the mechanics for creating that, then you must understand the point of mutual impact. Okay? Which draws you into that mode of constantly re-examining, your mode of perceiving. And so life or the field of pure potential, infinite pure consciousness, right? The possibilities are in layers. That means there are levels to consciousness. Or consciousness is in levels. All together? It's in levels. It's one, yet it's in levels. It's a flow, all right? A dynamic flow, and yet is in levels. And so, what I know is not all of it. And all I have experienced that I think is the normal is just my habit. It's just an information field that I am used to. But as a man, you are more of an explorer than a believer, right? Yes. Are quick to believe that which we know, but an explorer is the man of faith. Is what? Yes. An explorer is the man of faith. The one that continue to what? To delve into the depth of what reality holds. Okay? So there is no feast you. All right? There is no feast you. Because when we talk about creating this point of coherence, it has to do more with giving up than retaining. Constantly giving up your ideas and projections in order to reach this point of coherence. And at this point of coherence, which is also the point of resonance, is where possible events happens. All right? One of it is healing. But sometimes we don't immediately grasp that the nature of our ideas also have a physiological impact on our bodies, right? We don't. So you are actually part of that which is facilitating the wholeness of your bodies. And to, to play your role very well in this whole collective process of healing, then you must pay attention to your mind, to the nature of your mind, to the nature of your mind. And so, because like what we said when we started, that the response of the field to each individual always, take place via the conscious mode of what? Of the individual. And that is the language through which we interact with the field. It is consciousness. It is consciousness. Mind you, this is beyond just making a decision to do something, right? It's not just say I decide, I'm making a decision to be successful. It is that being a success is consciousness. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is what? Is consciousness. It's not, this is beyond making a decision or a resolution. This is interacting with this unfolding field of infinite potential by being conscious of the outcome. Remember we said that there is no deterministic force orchestrating your outcome. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So what we have are probabilities and possibilities, not a destined outcome of events in your life, which in religious space we call maybe God's will, or maybe we have other forms of names. But then as far as God, the God field is concerned, all right, we must realize that we are not separate observers, just simply waiting for life to happen to us. But that the implication that we are inseparably one with the field means that we are part of the process. We are part of that which influences the field. For the outcomes of our lives. I said we are part of that because there are other factors, other fellow human beings that are also impacting on your life. But you are very much part of that whole process. And so the God field, or the field of this pure consciousness that we talk about, all right, has a language. And interacting with that language is not merely by just making a decision or resolution. It's by sustaining the consciousness of that outcome. These are two different things. Because sometimes we still want to do something, it's just a decision, but we don't carry it in our heart. We don't what? We don't carry it. By the time a given outcome of life is better than your heart, it's consciousness. That consciousness is already a field. Every form of matter that you see around you is a manifestation of a field. That is to say, this implicate field is what gives birth to the material universe. And so there is a field that is giving birth to these larger entities. And that's why the manifestation of an event or a possibility did not happen when you began to what? as at the time you start to sense the thing, or you start to see it physically, because this is just a bunch of matter, right? And you're having to see physically is not how this is not, it's just an aspect of how you can interact. Do you understand what I'm saying? There is a deeper, more subtle form of seeing. You know, because it's a language you've carried in your heart. You've been interacting with the field. You carry it. And so let's say you want to make a decision about being a success in this particular field, all right? Or in whatever. You carry it in your heart as consciousness. It becomes consciousness. And the reason why that is so important is this. It begins to inform the ground of your interaction with the factors that is capable of shaping and creating that outcome. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. That means you carry that consciousness. That consciousness can actually attract the set of people that will help you reach that end. Do you understand what I'm saying? You carry that consciousness, it begins to affect your mental mode of behavior, do you understand? Do you get what I'm saying? Not just the decision, but the consciousness of it is the language, or it is instrumental to attracting the factors that we collectively work together as one force to create the outcome. And so the God field is not deterministic. It is characterized by probabilities and possibilities. And so there are no particular destined end for any person. Do you understand? You get what I'm saying? What you have are possibilities, endless possibilities of what an individual can be. But then, if you are choosing to be something, do you get what I'm saying? You are choosing to, to have a particular shade of life experience. The universe or the God field is actually saying it is what? It is possible. All right. You want to live in a particular way, the God field is saying what? It is possible. Okay? Now, I think every human being needs to understand this. So that we don't start blaming our religious gods, right? For not showing up. Have you? Because when you think there's somebody that is there, determining everything, and then the way your life is playing out, you don't actually like it, then who is to be blamed, right? Is it the one that is all powerful, or the one or you that are just there? The reason for that way of thinking is because we've been severely, cut off as part of the whole process of life. We don't see ourselves as inherent quality of that life that is holistic. So no separation between, what you may call the power of God trying to impose or determine something good for you. No. And so whatever outcome, somehow, you see, this is how I see it. Whatever outcome and possible experience we eventually embody in our lifetime, we have either consciously or unconsciously created it. You understand what I just said? Yeah. We either consciously or what? Or consciously created it. Very important you understand that. And that's why you must become intentional. We spoke about intention the other time. Become intentional. Okay? Remember we said this is not being trying to exact control over life. Do you get what I'm saying? But that you are recognizing that you are an inseparable reality of this whole stuff that we call life. You understand? And that what we said, right? You know, we said something about the laws of life, right? The laws of life or nature, laws of nature. Like the way some scientists put it and says the laws of nature are the laws of physics, right? And what about you are the one actually creating those laws? Or that the response of the field is very much affected by who is observing it. That actually, whatever you are discovering is not just what is happening to you, that is, you are part of the whole process. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there's no mutually exclusive event or human experience where, okay, you are not part of it. No, you are part of the entire cosmic process. So if life is happening now, you are part of that inherent quality that constitutes the mechanism of life happening right now. And so you are not a separate observer trying to observe the whole process of what is going on. Because that's an elusive way of thinking. There is no separation. Okay? And so we can talk about laws of nature as the laws of physics, but we can't talk about immutable laws or absolute laws that cannot be changed. It's like saying there is really no fact that is just there and absolute. As far as you are part of that entire dynamic process, you are also part of the intelligence that is, you are part of the intelligence that is, creating that reality. And so when it comes to facilitating healings in your body, are you part of the process? Eh? Part of the process. Part of the process. When it comes to, the nature of how life is happening as you, through you, to you, are you part of the process? You're part of the process. Okay? The actual nature of life is not in the form of things. This is what I mean. But a lot of people make this mistake. Okay? When we talk about life, I'll talk about the field. And when I use the word field, is what I'm okay with. All right, for a direct communication that may not carry any religious connotation. But as well, you can use any word that you want. You can use God. You can use the divine. You can use any word in your culture, religion, that can be used to capture, let's say, the source of all things, in a sense, or the ground alchemy of things. You are free to use it, okay? Be mature and go beyond language. And so, the nature of the field is not in the form of things. Not in the form of things. is pure potential. There are no determined events that is according to life. So whatever, what you see is that life is a feed of pure potential. That is to say, the form in which life take in your experience, it's something that you are creating. It is not something that is a fixed event in life. You get what I'm saying? And so life does not have a fixed meaning of itself. Are you getting what I'm saying? Life does not have a fixed meaning of itself. What is life? There is no definition of what life is. You get what I'm saying? There is no definition of what consciousness is. That's the ground feed of reality. There's no definition of what God is. It's so pure. It's not in the form of things. It's not in the form of actual experience. So you cannot say this is what life is. Do you understand? Whatever life is that which you've created. And so we must recognize that we are actually co-creating with this ground alchemy of infinite possibilities. And so we are not just recipients of life events, but that we are co-creating with the field. We are co-creating with the field. And why is that so? Because we are inseparably part of the field. We are not just the outcome of the field. We are part of the field. And so there is no cause and effect. So nothing is causing me to be, as it were. So we cannot really, or we cannot categorically objectify the effect as a separable reality from the cause. Do you understand? But what you call the cause and effect, they are just part of the same continuum, right? They are aspect of the same flow. They are not mutually exclusive. You get what I'm saying? You know what? They are not separate. Do you get? They are not separate. For somebody, it may just be that you are hearing this for the first time. But just relax. Relax. Like for centuries, people thought that time and space were separate entities, right? And after Einstein's discovery of special relativity, we're not having space-time, right? And when we look at that in respect to the cosmos, we're having general, relativity involving gravity, and the whole thing is changing, right? And it keeps. So what you think we're separate, objectified, separate entities, we're actually seeing they are just aspects of the same flow. And of course, when we talk about the nature of human language, we know that basically we reason in terms of fragmentation. And that shouldn't have been an issue if we can observe the whole process of language, because it comes in form of fragmentation. We speak by dissection. We reason by separation. Do you understand what I'm saying? We reason by separation. And so I think that the male and what? The female and what? And the male is what? They are separate. So male, separate, female, separate. But we forget so soon that the male and female are just aspects of the same flow. They are what? They are aspects of what? Of the same flow, not mutually exclusive. And none is the cause of the other, right? They are mutually impacting on themselves. And to be whole as a man, you must go beyond your aspect. You must study the whole flow of being, which in this context, the male and female. And not until, see, you cannot be a total man without embodying the flow. You understand what I'm saying? Without what? Embodying the flow. That is, you must see the other aspect that seems opposite. You must see it as part of the totality of you. And the reason why the word is like this, our word is like this, is because there is an imbalanced comprehension of who the being is that we may call the human being. Even the masculine orientation is dysfunctional. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's so distorted. A male dysfunctional oriented world. That's what we have. Anyway, generally, that's what language is. And that's how we reason. We reason, in a fragmented manner. And by the time we place absoluteness on this fragmentation, that becomes our own blindness. And that becomes the hindrance to, to the possibility of evolving. We hardly evolve because we place absoluteness on our fragmentation. And we mistake, in fact, language for the actual state of things. And that's why people hardly give up, give up what they are used to. The language in which, the language they are used to, in which they describe, reality. Okay? And so, this is beyond a thinking mode that put things in fragmentation, in separation. Okay? And so we are seeing one whole flow. And so I am not observing how the universe is working. All right? But that the workings of the universe and the one who is observing is one whole process of observation. And that's why we said that the ground alchemy of the manifestations of the material universe, it's actually a verbing primacy. It's not in a noun form. So God is not in a noun form, right? It's not in a noun form. It's not a fixed object separate from, every other thing. It's a verb. You get what I'm saying? And this verb captures the collective process of everything. And so we cannot put the creator outside of the creation. Trying to examine creation as different from the creator. That's an archaic way of thinking. As a matter of fact, that word view has so much, has so much created imbalance in our experience as far as society is concerned. And that's why people are more attached to their religion, to their culture, to their color, to their nation. So as far as my nation prospers and all of you wipe away, that's none of my business. So we cannot see beyond the fragmentations because we've taken the fragmentation as the actual essence of who we are. Meanwhile, these are just a way of how we coordinate ourselves within the empirical space of life. But in the actual sense, these are not the reality. It's Maya. It's Maya. Illusion. They are elusive. So, but that you see, both the creator and the creation is one whole process of experience, one whole cosmic process of happening. So that the ground for the manifestation of possible experience in this context, the material universe, is not a separate effect. You understand? It's not a separate effect of the cause. And that the cause is an inherent quality of what? Of the effect. And so this is completely inseparable. To divide it and put a structure, an opposition between them is basically responsible for the chaos that we are, facing. Because ultimately, our worldviews shapes our experience and how we live together, right? Now, the Christian has a way of viewing the world. The Muslim has a way of viewing the world. And if you don't belong to any religion, you also have a way of viewing the world. All of these views, they are collectively impacting upon the human experience. Go together? Yeah. They're collectively impacting upon the human experience. And so, if we want to really alter the nature of our experience, it's very important that somehow all of these ideas about what you think of the world, they are very important, factors to look into because it's part of the agency that is shaping your experience. Okay? Yeah. And so back to the point that life is in the form of pure potential, not in the form of things. And so what we call things in this context is the actual form of experience that we are all having, right? And so life is not defined in form of a thing. It's pure potential. That is, it's nameless. But however form it takes, it's actually in collaboration with us. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And so the field is collaborating with you to metamorphose into an actual form of experience. Okay? So I can show you a seed. That seed is actually we liken it to this pure potential. Someone sees it as just a fruit. Another see it as something that you can use to generate the tree also, right? Another see it as something that will be very good for medicinal purposes. And so you hold a seed like this, it's like we cannot categorically tell, okay, the several uses. Do you understand? of that seed. And so what is that seed? You cannot describe it in form of an aspect of its use. Do you understand? And place absoluteness on it. No. And so life, you don't know what life is. Life is what it is, right? In collaboration with you. And then we said that the basis of that collaboration is consciousness. Is what? Is consciousness. That's the ground alchemy. It's consciousness. So scientifically or in scientific word, we call that energy. We call the field, what life is. We call it energy, right? Yeah. Religiously, you can call this energy spirit. You can call it what? Spirit. So in religious term, you call it spirit. In scientific term, you call it what? You call it energy. And while for people who classify themselves as merely humanistic, that's humanism. You can call it what? Love. Abi? Call it love. So love, spirit, energy, God, everything, they are all names. They are all what? They are all names. And that depends on, our shade of exposures. And so this energy or this spirit is pure. Is what? Is pure. Is not anything. So the spirit is not anything. It's pure. And the movement of energy, right? The movement of energy is through the conduit of coherence. Is what? Of coherence. And the ground of coherence is the ground of participation, is the ground of collaboration. You understand what I'm saying? That means there is the foundational language that brings about coherence. All right? And that language, you said, being conscious, right? Being conscious. Okay? And so this spirit can create. This spirit can change and it can transform. But the mechanics by which this whole experience happens is through its own language. And so, let's say whatever outcome, right? So, energy or spirits can give birth to infinite outcome, which you call possibilities, event, actual experiences. So, there is no end to the outcome of what energy can give birth to. There is no ending to the outcome of what can result from God. Do you understand? I get what I'm saying? Okay. You see, the energy, which we may call the causative ground, right? The energy and the outcome, which is the effect, is one whole process. Is what? Is one whole process. And this whole process is what we are calling the field, is what we are calling the field. And in this entire process, which is the field, the observer, the what? The observer, which is you and I, we are not outside of the field, examining the field. Just like when you pray, you get? When you pray, It's not a request for something to what? For God to just do something for you. You get what I'm saying? No. If your God was to be automatic, you don't need to what? You don't need to pray. I don't know if you are getting what I'm saying. The fact that you need to pray means that you are part of the whole process facilitating the outcome. And this is the same for everybody. We are just having our different way of describing this. It's one thing, it's one experience. It's the same thing. All right? And so, this is not the energy, it's not automatic. All right? And so, coherence is part of this whole process. This whole process involving energy as the grounded and as the ground alchemy, and the outcome, which is the effect. Coherence is part of that whole process. Or we can say that coherence is the intelligence that underlies the process of energy and outcome, between energy and outcome. You get what I just said? Let come again. That coherence is the underlying wisdom, intelligence between energy, spirit, and the outcome, between God and the results. And this coherence, as the underlying intelligence, it's actually the common language between what? Between the energy and the outcome. You understand? It's the common language. It's the resonance. It's the resonance. And so, you are part of the field. You are part of the whole happening. The observer is never separate. It's a very powerful understanding. The observer is separate. And so it's like telling you that you cannot just pray with your mouth and your heart is not resonating with your prayer. You get what I just said? You pray, your heart is not what? It's not in resonance with that. Because in a sense, when one ceases to pray, or when one ceases to utter words, the prayer or the interaction still what? Still continues. Because it is consciousness. You understand? Because it is consciousness. You are speaking a language. The language that transcends the language by which we communicate in the explicate order of things. But at the more subtle quantum field, the language we speak, it's resonance and vibration. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's carrying the feed in your heart, carrying the outcome. This is what we mean by the time we say, oh, I just need this small space. Sorry. All right. This is what we mean when we talk about focused attention. All right. Focused attention. Studies have shown countless times, scientifically speaking, focused attention has a way of influencing our environment. Do you understand? Influencing ourselves. You can influence machine by focused attention. And there is a build up to that anyway, because most of us, our focused attention is very weak. And that's because there is no practical space. There's no practical reality to the form of knowledge that we are exposed to. And last week we spoke about the necessity to be given to the practicality, the practical aspect or the practical side of knowledge and not just the knowledge. You get what I'm saying? Yes. And by the time you keep accumulating knowledge and information, you get tired. It becomes boring. And what makes it an adventure is because there is an experiment and experience to your pursuit of knowledge. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's what makes it interesting.